Hello, good morning to our respective lecturer, Madam Raina. So today our presentation is about economy of government Brunei. Now let's get to know our group members. The first slide is introduction. Brunei economy is almost entirely reliant on the production of its large-scale petroleum and natural gas resources. However, oil and gas profit have empowered the state purpose of providing one of the richest countries in Asia. Since the late 20th century, the government has worked to diversify the economy by expanding the sectors such as agriculture, fishing, tourism, and financial service in order to maintain the country's economic stability. Oil and gas production contributes nearly for more than half of GDP, which is gross domestic product, which is providing 90% of government income and 90% of export and providing minimal employment. Brunei has the limit its industrial capability and imports the majority of its manufactured goods and food. Oil was developed and manufactured in 1929, while natural gas was implemented due to the discovery of huge quantity in the 1960th century. Moreover, in the sector of fishing, Brunei has one of the world's highest per capita fish consumption rates. Furthermore, in the sector of finance and trade, most central banking functions are provided by the Financial Institution Division and the Brunei Currency Board, both of which are part of the Ministry of Finance. The Brunei dollar is issued in the Brunei Currency Board. The management of the state considerable overseas investment consume most of the state financial activities and the return on them has become an important source of income. For example, since the early 1970s, revenues from petroleum and natural gas contribute to virtually all the country export profit and have typically result in trade surplus such in Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, China, South Korea and India, which is the country primarily commercial partners. Following 1.1% growth in 2020, the GDP decreased by 1.5% in 2021. The economy faced in August 2021 from decreased oil and gas supply as well as a rise in a COVID-19 infection. The reduction of pandemic restriction and high vaccination rate may also contribute to the growth of economy. Therefore, it is originally expected GDP will increase by 4.2% in 2022 before slowing to 3.6% in 2023. That's all from me. I will pass this presentation to the next presenter. Thank you.
Public policy of Brunei Darussalam. There are relations between the United States and Brunei traditionally. Relations between the United States and Brunei have traditionally been cordial and cooperative, and recent years have seen a substantial rise in bilateral interaction as part of broader American efforts to rebalance to Asia. These days, our military-to-military training and coaching, our work in trade and economic growth, an increasing number of our educational possibilities, and last but not least, a number of cultural and people exchange programs with our people all represent our friendship and collaboration. Slide is policy issue. Policy issue. Free monetary policy is hampered by the currency board system, which is based on Singapore dollars. With oil and gas accounting for 90% of total revenue, fiscal sustainability is a medium-term issue. Following the increase in civil servant wage, the government is the Sultanate largest employer, and the recent announcement of an increase in health and education spending for 2007, the government needs to keep an eye on its development expenditure to promote the growth of Islamic and Sharia financing as part of its diversification efforts. Next is Brunei Darussalam fiscal policy. Fiscal policy has a significant impact. In Brunei, fiscal policy has a significant impact on the social and economic consequences for both the now and the future. The fact that oil earnings are unstable, depleted, and mostly generated from overseas complicated the conduct of fiscal policy. Although government spending is typically pro-cyclical, rising during periods of rising oil price and falling during periods of falling price, it has been adjusted for less than total revenue, leading to significant savings that permit nations to respond to falling oil price more gradually. Brunei Darussalam monetary policy. Brunei Darussalam have their own monetary policy, such as the currency board arrangement. The currency board arrangement, which is supported by the currency exchange agreement between Brunei Darussalam and Singapore, is the foundation of Brunei Darussalam monetary system. The currency board arrangement in a system where the exchange rate is fixed. The currency board backs up the money that is printed in the economy with the equivalent amount that is kept in reserve. This will support commerce and investment by ensuring the credibility and stability of the Brunei dollar. That's all from me. I will pass it to the next presenter. Thank you.
So I'm going to present about the problem in Brunei. Inflation. Inflation is a condition which produces a rising threat in the general price level in economy. Inflation is also the situation where there is too much money chasing on a few things. It also defined as a persistent and sustained increase in the general price level. So Brunei Darussalam, a tiny Southeast Asian monarchy, appears to be the outside world to be a Shangri-La. With a population of less than 500,000 people, the country has one of the highest GDP per capita level in the world. The benevolent Sultan, once the richest man in the world, has ensured free education and medical care for his subjects, as well as heavily subsidies, food and housing. The government employs the majority of Bruneians, ensuring them a high-level economic stability. The Brunei dollar is issued by the Brunei Currency Board in the country. There are several Islamic commercial banks, a few foreign banks, and a few offshore banks. The management of the state's substantial foreign investment consume much of the state financial activity, and the return on this has become an important source of income.
Next is unemployment rate in Brunei. The first point is unemployed or jobless workers. In periphery economies, there are three types of unemployment, which is sporadic, seasonal, and permanent. Finding a job in a community where the majority of residents works for the others is a major challenge. The second point is unemployment statistics are acquired and studied. Since World War II, several governments have stated their desire for full employment. Full-time employment is not always equivalent with a zero unemployment charge. The third point is the general wide variety of unemployed. This produced from 8,500 males and 700 females. Out of the full of 200 unemployed people, approximately 100 had been locals. Now, I'm going to present about the economy in Brunei. The first point is vast supplies of oil and gas. Oil and gas sales have enabled the country to provide its citizens with one of the highest per capita earnings in Asia. The second point is positive growth in GDP. In the primary sector in 2019, 0.5% decrease in GDP was registered. For the unemployment, the first causes is low qualification. A large percentage of them have best number 1 or secondary stage qualification, making it difficult for them to find a suitable activity. The second point is lack of available activities and financial insecurity. 30,000 jobs must be generated to address the unemployment problem within the private sector. For the third causes is sick behavior. Bruneians are said to be picky with current process opportunities, with a few certified candidates. Now, for the method to overcome, the first point is a variety of incentive to reduce the number of unemployed people. One of them is the introduction of the AIREEL apprenticeship scheme. For the second method is entrepreneurship. With the entrepreneurship, the orientation of today's local markets can be turned right into a commercial company performance.
To conclude, the policy is meant as a policy, rules set to be implemented and subsequently used as a guide and basis in planning, evaluating, monitoring, administering, and managing programs, activities related to the public service, for example, the employee performance appraisal policy, in-service training policy, salary policy, promotion policy, financial regulation, regulation of government officials, rules for the awarding of medals and star of merit, policy on the use of information technology (IT) in the public service. In addition, by using the right and effective public policy, Brunei is able to make their country one of the countries with largest minerals in Southeast Asia. Brunei is also the richest country in the world and is able to form a good administrative system in managing matters related to mineral resources, finance, economy, and others well. Therefore, Brunei has a very harmonious society because their public policy have a great impact positive to the community in Brunei. Thank you.